Jayson Tatum has returned back in the lineup for the Boston Celtics. And the Boston Celtics look good with them in the lineup. So does that mean that the Boston Celtics should now be considered the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference? Or should it be the Knicks or the Pistons or the Celtics? We're going to get into all that. But before I get started on that, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, and share. And tell a friend, tell a family member, tell whoever to support my channel. The Boston Celtics have reintegrated Jayson Tatum back into the lineup. Jayson Tatum is back, and he played in 2 games already, including one against the Dallas Mavericks on Friday, and then a game on Sunday against the Cavs, and he looked pretty good in both games. You know, against Dallas, Jayson Tatum had 15 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, a near triple-double on 6 for 16 shooting. And then against the Celtics, Jayson Tatum had 20 points on 6 for 16 shooting. And so Jayson Tatum came back into the lineup, and he looked good, man. I gotta give the man credit, man. He looked good. I know the shooting percentages ain't gonna jump off the page in both games, but if you watch him, the way that he was moving, the way he was able to get to his spots, he had a couple of step back threes, a couple of off the dribble mid-range shots, a couple of nice little strong takes to the basket. He had some rebounds, some offensive rebounds. He had against Dallas, he had an attempted dunk. He ended up missing the dunk. But the fact that he was able to attempt a dunk and he felt confident enough to jump off his legs and land on them, like it was impressive. It was impressive, and so he looks good, man. Jayson Tatum, I thought he looked good in both games against for the Celtics, against the Mavs and the Cavs. And to me, the fact that Jayson Tatum looks this comfortable already should be a very huge confidence boost for the Celtics and for the Eastern Conference. I mean, this has to ring off alarm bells for teams like the Knicks and the Pistons and the Celtics and the Cavs for Jayson Tatum to look this good, because it's another huge roadblock. And for all of these teams that are trying to make headway in the Eastern Conference and get to the finals. And for Boston, man, like what a season. What a season that the Celtics are having. It's just, it's unbelievable the season that they're having. Joe Mazzulla, if the season ended today, this dude should be the coach of the year, bar none. He's done an unbelievable job with this team. No one expected the Celtics to have the second best record in the Eastern Conference, and they do. And they're getting great contributions from guys like Baylor Shireman. Nemes Keita's been one of the best centers in the league all of a sudden. He's been good. You're getting you're getting great play from Julio Gonzalez, Stralzer. I mean, and obviously, you know, Jaylen Brown, I talked about him on the last episode. He's having I've said that he should get some respect, and that people should respect what this man has done this season and really for his career. Like, I've always felt Jaylen Brown's been underrated, and I think he's been stepping up this season as a number 1 option. And so he's been doing this thing. Derrick White. I mean, the term winning player gets thrown around a lot, and I get annoyed by it sometimes. But I got to tell you, Derrick White is he's the prototype. He's the prototype. He's the perfect definition of a winning player. The guy just does everything on defense. He hasn't had the greatest shooting season. I think currently he's shooting under 40% from the field. But the guy just does everything on defense. Gets deflections, steals. He's the best shot blocking guard I've ever seen since Dwayne Wade. So he blocks shots for a guard. He gets steals. He's doing this thing on the ball against the premier perimeter scorers in the league. Like, he just does everything. Rebounds. And he hits. And even though he ain't shooting the ball well, he hits. When you need a big shot, he delivers. And so he's doing this thing. And I can't forget about Peyton Pritchard. Because, my God, this dude is he's 5'11", 6 feet, and he just gets buckets every time I watch him play. I mean, he just gets buckets. He can score. No matter what defender you put on him, he's going to find a way to score. He can hit pull-up threes, pull-up mid-range shots, can get the ball to the basket, fadeaway jumpers. guy's averaging 17 points a game on 46% shooting and 36% from three. And so you're getting good play out of him. And so it's just, and then you're adding Jayson Tatum to that mix. It's ridiculous. And so the Boston Celtics on paper with Jayson Tatum, like they look scary. They look like a real problem. Like, this team had the second best record in the Eastern Conference before Jayson Tatum came back, and now you got him back. And I think the question for Tatum is, like, how long is it going to take for him to look like the All-NBA top 5 to 10 player Jayson Tatum? How long is it going to take for Jayson Tatum to look like that guy? Because physically he looks good. But, how long is it going to take for him to find his rhythm? And that, to me, like, he has about, 17, 18, 19 games left in the regular season. And so he has some time to find his rhythm. But look, man, it takes a while for certain guys to find their rhythm. Like sometimes it takes about a good 30 to 40 games sometimes. Like, it doesn't always take 20 games for a player to find his way. And so for Jayson Tatum, it's going to be a process. I'm sure he's going to have a couple of monster games coming up, and I'm sure he's going to have some horrible games. And so for Jayson Tatum, it's just a matter of, can he find that rhythm consistently come playoff time? Because, even though you look at the Celtics on paper and you say, yeah, Jayson Tatum, he comes back. Jayson Tatum with this team should be the favorites in the East. And I think most media heads, as a result of Jayson Tatum coming back, are gonna pick the Celtics to come out of the East. You can see it. But look, man, like, rhythm is everything in the NBA, and rhythm and timing and pace is everything. Like, I remember, I don't know if people watching this are too young to remember, but Michael Jordan, the many people who consider to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Remember, he came out of retirement, right? He in 1990, I want to say 1994 or 1990. I think it was 1993, 1994. But he came out of retirement, right? And he came back around February, March, and he played in 17 games for the Chicago Bulls. And he had moments when he came back, he looked really good. He looked like peak Michael Jordan. And then he had games where he didn't look as good. But the Bulls made the playoffs. And then in the first round of the playoffs, the Bulls played the Charlotte Hornets. They beat the Charlotte Hornets in the first round. And then here comes the second round. They played the Orlando Magic. You know what happened? The Chicago Bulls, the dynasty-led Bulls, lost to the Magic in 6 games when everyone thought the Bulls would win that series. And Michael Jordan had a couple of good games, but he had some brain farts. He had moments where he looked rusty, and he made a couple of mental errors, losing the ball. The ball gets stolen by, I think it was Nick Anderson back in the day. That ended up, the Magic ended up stealing that win. They ended up winning the series. And so I say all that to say regarding Tatum, that yes, he's coming back. And yes, he's on paper, the Boston Celtics look elite. But even if that's the case, I don't think it's a shoo-in for this team for them to nose through the Eastern Conference, because there are going to be moments moving forward where Jayson Tatum is going to look like he's like 60%. And it's not because he's playing injured, but it's because he just doesn't have I don't know if he's going to ever have his rhythm consistently, because most of these athletes, man, it takes them, by the time, most of these guys, it takes them about a good 30 to 40 games, for them to find their way, find their stride. And my question for Tatum is, like, can he find his rhythm soon? Less than that. And I don't know, and that's what makes it all fascinating, because look, man, I love this. This is a perfect storyline, because the Eastern Conference is, who knows? The teams like the Knicks and the Cavs, 2 teams that people thought would be favorites to come out of the East before the year started. Like I said before, there's a real roadblock for both of these teams, right? And so there's a lot of pressure on the Cavs and the Knicks. The Cavs, they've had early playoff flameouts, disappointments. They trade for James Harden. Everyone's gonna be down the Cavs because James Harden is the guy that people consider to be the playoff choker. Every year, James Harden has lifeless performances in the playoffs and when it matters. And so people are not going to buy into that. And there's pressure on that team to deliver. The Knicks, a lot of people had picked the Knicks to go to the finals, and they're playing really good basketball right now. But they've had their shares of ups and downs, and Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. They traded for Jose Alvarado. They signed Jeremy Shohan from the Spurs. Like, they made all these little shrewd moves, and on paper the Knicks look really good. But what's going to happen if they play Boston in the playoff series? What's going to happen what's going to happen in that moment? Especially the Knicks, they played Boston last year and they beat them. And so if the Knicks don't get to the finals, what's going to happen? How is the Knicks fan base and management going to react to that? Because everything the Knicks have done over the last year or so has been geared for this season, for them to get over the hump and get to the finals and, get to that next level. But guess what? Jayson Tatum's coming back, and he's going to have something to say about that. And so that's what makes the Eastern Conference so exciting now, is like Jayson Tatum has, with his return, you look at Boston on paper, they look good. They should be, people are going to have them as the favorites to come out of the East. But, the Knicks and the Cavs, like, hey, these are the two teams that people had high expectations for. And the Pistons, the team that actually has the best record in the East, they've had a great year. Now, look, I think as great of a year that the Pistons have had, I don't think that I don't think it would be a disappointment for the Pistons if they don't get to the finals. Like, I think the Pistons, people had some expectations for the Pistons for them to be good, but I don't think people had the Pistons being this good as far as number one seed in the East good. And so I think for the Pistons, and they've been struggling a little bit lately as well. And so, their lack of offense and shooting around Kate Cunningham's kind of been a problem right now. But even if the Pistons, like, if they lose in the second round, I think people will look at the Pistons and say, yeah, great year. Upgrade your roster around Kate Cunningham. Get Kate some help. I think people will just look at the Pistons and look at this season. If they lose in the second round or first round, like, progressive year, whatever. But when you look at teams like New York and Cleveland, they got to get it done. They got to get it done. This has got to be one of those two teams' years to get to the finals, and if it doesn't happen for one of them or both of them, people are going to look at them as a disappointment. And disappointment usually means big changes. And so that's what makes this Tatum thing so interesting, because you look at the Boston Celtics right now. I mean, woo! Hey, man, Jayson Tatum coming back and he's looking comfortable. It should be a really concerning sight for the rest of the Eastern Conference, man. It's just the way it is. And for Boston specifically, again, I gotta marvel at the consistency of this franchise. Every year since 2014-15, they've been a playoff team every year. 11 straight years. I want to say 11 straight years of this team making the playoffs. Might be 12, but they're just consistent. Ever since Brad Stevens has been in charge, became the coach, and you had Danny Ainge as a general manager, and I know he's gone. I know he's left, and I think Brad Stevens is now the general manager. But ever since that management's been there, I mean, it's just consistency with the Boston Celtics. 2014-15. Make the playoffs, lose in the first round. 2015-16, make the playoffs, lose in the first round. 2016-17, go all the way to the conference finals, lose to the Cavs. 2017-18, go all the way to the conference finals, lose to the Cavs. 2018-19, make the second round, lose to the Bucks. 2019-20, win the first round against the Raptors. Go to the second round. No, let me take it back. They actually go to that. Now they went to the conference finals in 2019-20, and they lost to the Heat, right? And so, 2020, 2021, down year, losing the first round. 2021, 2022. Go all the way to the conference, go all to the NBA finals, lose to the Warriors in the finals. Then 2022, 2023, go all the way to the conference finals, right? Lose to the Heat in the conference finals. In 2023, 2024, get Porzingis, they win the championship. They get Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and those guys. They end up breaking through, winning the championship against the Mavs. And then 2024, 2025, that's when Jayson Tatum tears his Achilles, and they lose in the second round. And then this year, the Boston Celtics, already second best record in the Eastern Conference, and they just got Tatum back from his Achilles, and they're just geared to make another run. Like, this is what the Boston Celtics do every year. That just consistency when it comes to just how that team is run and how they just go about building up their roster, their culture. It's unbelievable that the Celtics are just year in and year out are just consistent. And to me, as a sports fan, as a basketball fan, a team like the Celtics is the kind of team I want to model my franchise after. Just look, you're not going to win a championship every year. Like, and for Boston, they haven't won a championship every year. They went to the finals twice in 11 years, 12 years, and they won a championship. But guess what? Every year, the Boston Celtics are just they built themselves up to be just in the midst every year to compete for a championship and be a really good team. It doesn't always work out in their favor, and look, they've had years where they've lost in the first round, but mostly they've had years where they either lost in the second round or gone to the conference finals. And every now and then they break through and get to the finals and win a championship. But every year they're always in the midst to win a championship. And to me, as a sports fan and the NBA and an NBA fan, that's the kind of franchise I want to be. Just consistency, year in, year out, being in the midst to have a chance to win a championship. And that's what the Boston Celtics have done, man. And they're at it again. They're right now. They have a chance to win a championship. I don't know if I'll pick them to win a championship right now, even with Tatum back. But they have a chance. And as a sports fan, that's all you want, man. All you want is a chance. You're not going to always win a championship every year. It's not going to happen. But every year, the Boston Celtics are just always in the midst to win a championship. Like in the NFL, it's always the Philadelphia Eagles. I respect the Philadelphia Eagles. Always in the midst to win the championship every year. Things don't always go their way every year, but they always have a chance every year. Atlanta Braves. They don't always win a championship. And most of the times they haven't won a championship. They disappointed me. But guess what? When it comes to the Atlanta Braves, they have a chance to win a World Series because they built a roster that most years are good. And that's what the Boston Celtics have done. They remind me of like the Greg Popovich Spurs. The Greg Popovich Spurs with Tim Duncan, manager Ginobili, Tony Parker was like this. For like a span of like nearly 20 years, the Spurs positioned themselves to always be good and to position themselves to win a championship. They don't always win a championship, but they're just good every year and they have a chance. And like I said, man, I just want to commend the Boston Celtics, man, as an organization for building up their organization the way that they've had for the past, forget 11 years. Like, since like they got Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen in 2007, 2008. Like, ever since that year, I guess it's been 19 years now. Like, they've just been elite when it comes to just consistent playoff appearances and deep playoff runs. I mean, it's really remarkable. It really is. And they're just at it again. Like, from Kevin Garnett to Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rondo to, they ended up getting Al Horford and Isaiah Thomas and I want to say Avery Bradley. And then all of a sudden they break that team up, and then they get Kyrie for a little bit, and then they draft Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, and they've just been elite, man, ever since then. Ever since they've had Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum as their faces of the franchise, they've been just an elite NBA franchise, and then they get Derrick White in a few years later, and that's just kind of where they are, man. And I just want to salute Brad Stevens in that front office, man, for having the Celtics the way that they are, just being an elite organization. So But this Jayson Tatum thing is gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be something to follow. It's gonna be something to watch. Like the first 2 games, he's looked good. And who's to say that Jayson Tatum can't get back to his peak form? Like it could happen. And we'll see how that goes. But hey, man, welcome back, Jayson Tatum. The fact that he was able to come back from his Achilles is incredible. 9 months being out. I mean, most athletes, usually, I think on average, most of these athletes miss like 12 months, 12, 13 months. They miss around a year. He came back in 9 months, man. And so Jayson Tatum is back. He looked pretty good. And, we'll see what he does moving forward the rest of the way, man. But it should be a fun NBA, the rest of the NBA season and onto the playoffs. And we'll keep an eye on see what these Boston Celtics are going to do moving forward, man. That's all I have. And, hey, man, Jayson Tatum, welcome back, my brother. Let's see what you got moving forward, man. And I'll keep watching.